Hello friends, today we are going to learn about supply under GST. But before I start, don't forget to like and subscribe my YouTube channel. Supply includes supply for consideration in course or furtherance of business. That means if you pay some consideration and if something is taken or provided in the course or furtherance of business under section 7 subsection 1 clause A, then it is considered as a supply. Importation of services for consideration whether or not in the course or furtherance of business section 7 subsection 1 clause B, this is also considered as a supply. So if you have imported any services from outside India, whether it is in the course or furtherance of the business or not, then also it is considered as a supply. Supply without consideration, that means here you are not paying some consideration, then also it is considered as a supply. That we are going to learn in this presentation only. Activities to be treated: supply of goods or supply of services, section 7 subsection 1A plus schedule 2. So in schedule 2 there are certain activities which are given whether it is considered as a supply of goods or supply of services, but it excludes negative list, section 7 subsection 2, that is schedule 3. So in supply includes total 3 schedules: schedule 1, schedule 2 and schedule 3, and one by one we will discuss in detail about it. Definition of supply, section 7 subsection 1 clause A. Supply includes all forms of supply of goods or services such as sale. Sale means transfer of property in goods for consideration. So if you are paying some consideration and you are transferring property in goods to another person, then it is considered as a sale. It also includes transfer from one place to another place, transfer from one branch to another branch, it is a transfer. Then barter means it is a exchange of goods with goods, then also it is a supply. Exchange, it is nothing but goods with partly goods and partly money. Say for example, taking a new mobile phone by exchanging old mobile phone and paying the difference in monetary terms, then it is a exchange. So then also it is a supply, and in this case also GST is leviable. Then license, rental, lease with or without of right to use. So if you are giving property on a license or on a rental basis or on a lease basis, then also it is a supply. Disposal, sale, place, giving away, use, consumption or any other disposition of a thing, that is called disposal. Made or agree to be made for a consideration in the course or furtherance of the business, यानी consideration के लिए किया जाता है. Made or to be made, that means in future consideration. If it is related to a business, then it is considered as a supply. Meaning of in course or furtherance of the business means GST is a tax on only commercial transaction. That means the supply of by individual in his personal capacity, no GST unless it falls in business. So कोई personally अपनी चीज सेल करता है और उसको बेचता है, तो it is not considered as a supply, and GST is not leviable on such kind of transaction. So only commercial transaction पे ही GST लगता है, but there are certain exception to this also. Let us understand this concept with the help of different. First example, Rishabh buys a car for his personal use and after a year sells it to a car dealer. Sale of car by Rishabh to a car dealer is not a supply under GST because supply is not made by Rishabh in the course or furtherance of business. So he has sell the car, but it is not in the course or furtherance of the business. So that is why it is not a supply at all, and that is why GST is not leviable on it. Second example, Anika sold her gold bangles and earrings to Abhushan Jewelers. Sale of old gold jewelry by individual to a jeweler will not constitute supply, as the same cannot be said to be in the course of business of the individual. It is also not in the course or furtherance of the business. So that is why whatever jewelry sold by Anika to a jeweler, it is not considered as a supply. So that is why GST is also not applicable on this type of transactions. Now next example, Sundaram Acharya, famous actor, paints some paintings and sells them. The consideration from such sale is to be donated to a charitable trust, Kind Human. Now in this case, the sale of painting by actor qualifies as a supply because he receives consideration. Now what he is doing that for that consideration is not matter. Once he receives the consideration, then it is considered as a supply and GST is leviable. A resident welfare association provides the service of depositing the electricity bill of the residents in lieu of some nominal charges. यानी एक वेलफेयर एसोसिएशन है, रेसिडेंट वेलफेयर एसोसिएशन, जो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी बिल जो भी रेसिडेंट का है वो किसी को डिपॉजिट करने के लिए देता है कि आप जाओ और डिपॉजिट करके आओ, और उसके बदले में नॉमिनल चार्ज पे करते हैं. प्रोविजन ऑफ सर्विसेज बाय ए क्लब or association or society to its member is treated as a supply, as this is included in the definition of a business. और ये include होता है definition because एक nominal charge लेके किया जाने वाला activity था, so that is why it is considered as a supply. Next example, an electronics dealer sells a laptop for rupees 50,000 to earn a profit. Whether it is a supply? Yes, as per section 7 subsection 1 clause A of CGST Act 2017, supply includes all forms of goods and services such as sale, transfer, barter, exchange, license, rental, lease or disposal made or agreed to be made for consideration by a person in the course or furtherance of business. So it is a case of sale of goods. So hence it will be treated as a supply because ये sale of goods का केस था. So अगर sale of goods है तो वो supply की definition में आ जाता है. So that is why ये भी एक supply ही है. Now import of service for consideration, section 7 subsection 1 clause B. So here you have to understand, when service is imported from outside India for consideration, then whether it is considered as a supply or not. So import of service for a consideration, whether or not in the course or furtherance of business, shall be treated as a supply. So here it is very important to note that if you have imported service for consideration, यानी पैसे देके कोई भी सर्विस आउटसाइड इंडिया से लिया है, फिर वो बिजनेस से रिलेटेड है या नहीं है वो इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है. Once you have imported service by paying some consideration, it is considered as a supply. फिर वो चाहे बिजनेस के लिए है या नहीं है. Let us take one example to understand. This is only exception to the condition of supply being made in the course or furtherance of the business. The example is, for example, Mr. Mukesh Ambani, an industrialist, has received the architect services for his private house in Italia from Chicago-based architect firm Perkins and Wills. This import of service is supply under section 7 subsection 1 clause B, though it is not in the course or furtherance of the business. यानी मुकेश अंबानी ने अपना हाउस बनाने के लिए एक जो उसका हाउस का नाम था एंटेलिया, और उसने आर्किटेक्ट सर्विस लिया पर्किंस एंड विल्स से, तो ये इसके लिए उसने पैसा पे किया है एंड इट इज नॉट रिलेटेड टू इट्स बिजनेस. इसके बिजनेस से रिलेटेड नहीं था. इट इज नॉट रिलेटेड टू हिज बिजनेस. This import of service is supply under section 7 subsection 1 clause B, though it is not in the course or furtherance of business. ये उसके business से related नहीं था. It is important to note the recipient of the service, that is importer of service, is liable to pay GST under reverse charge mechanism. और यहाँ पे जो importer है उसको GST पे करना पड़ेगा under reverse charge. Supply without consideration, section 7 subsection 1 clause C, that is schedule 1. Section 7 subsection 1 clause C read with schedule 1 of the central GST 2017 specifies services which are made or agreed to be made without a consideration. Thus the following transaction will be a subject to GST even if there is no consideration. यानी अगर कंसिडरेशन इन्वॉल्व नहीं है उसमें फिर भी उसको सप्लाई माना जाता है और सप्लाई है तो जीएसटी भी एप्लीकेबल है. और फर्स्ट उसमें केस है परमानेंट ट्रांसफर और डिस्पोजल ऑफ बिजनेस असेट्स वेयर इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट हैज बीन अवेल्ड. In case of event of sale of transfer or transfer of business asset where input tax credit has been availed by the transaction shall be treated as a supply even when these are cleared or transferred without consideration and business is liable to pay GST. यानी कोई भी ऐसा बिजनेस असेट है जिसको परमानेंटली ट्रांसफर किया जाता है या डिस्पोज किया जाता है तो उस केस में अगर उस पे आईटीसी ले लिया है देन उसको सप्लाई माना जाता है. बट अगर आईटीसी नहीं लिया है then it is a different story. So let us understand with the help of different example. Example number 1, XYZ Limited had purchased computers for a business purpose and ITC on the same has been availed after 1 year. These computers are permanently transferred to a charitable school without consideration. यानी कंप्यूटर परचेस किया 1 साल के बाद उसको एक चैरिटेबल स्कूल में दे दिया बट ये कंप्यूटर्स पे आईटीसी ऑलरेडी अवेल कर दिया था. सो नाउ दिस परमानेंट ट्रांसफर इज सब्जेक्ट टू जीएसटी ऑल्दो इट इज मेड विदाउट कंसिडरेशन. यानी यहाँ पे भले ही वो इसके लिए पैसा नहीं लिया वो स्कूल के पास से फिर भी उस पे जीएसटी लगेगा. इट इज कंसिडर एज ए सप्लाई. सेकेंड एग्जाम्पल, Priyansh is a cloth retailer located in Chandni Chowk, Delhi. At the time of purchase of clothes business assets, he plans input tax credit. Okay, उसने input tax credit ले लिया. He has given clothes from his business stock to his friend free of cost. उसके friend को उसने free of cost में थोड़ा cloth दे दिया. Since it is a transfer of business asset and ITC has been claimed, it will be treated to supply and will attract GST. यानी ये अमाउंट भी सप्लाई माना जाएगा बिकॉज उस पे उसने ITC ले लिया था. सो दैट इज वाई इट इज कंसिडर एज ए सप्लाई. सो यानी ये पॉइंट में ऐसा बोला है कि इफ यू हैव permanently transfer any business asset on which you have taken input tax credit, then it is considered as a supply and GST is leviable on it. Supply between related or distinct person if made in course or furtherance of business. Supply of goods or services between related person or between distinct person as specified in section 25 will qualify as supply if it is made in the course or furtherance of the business. So if it should be in the course or furtherance of the business, consideration is not important, then it is a supply. But before that we have to understand the meaning of related person. Now explanation to section 15. Persons are deemed to be related person in the following cases. Number 1, such persons are ऑफिसर और डायरेक्टर टू वन अनदर्स बिजनेस. यानी एक दूसरे के बिजनेस के वो लोग अगर ऑफिसर वो डायरेक्टर है तो वो दोनों पर्सन रिलेटेड पर्सन हुआ और इनके बीच में कोई भी ट्रांजेक्शन हुआ तो देन इट इज ए सप्लाई इवन इफ इट इज मेड विदाउट कंसिडरेशन. सच पर्सन्स आर लीगली रिकग्नाइज पार्टनर. अगर वो लोग लीगली रिकग्नाइज पार्टनर है तो भी वो रिलेटेड पर्सन हुए. सच पर्सन्स आर एम्प्लॉयर एंड एम्प्लॉई. अगर वो एम्प्लॉयर एंड एम्प्लॉई हुए तो भी वो रिलेटेड पर्सन हुए. बट इफ एम्प्लॉई हैज प्रोवाइडेड एनी सर्विसेज टू एम्प्लॉयर अंडर द टर्म्स ऑफ एम्प्लॉयमेंट then it is not covered here because it is covered under a negative list and it is not considered as a supply at all and which is covered under schedule 3. And but any gift given by employer to employee is taxable if it is above 50,000. third person controls or holds directly or indirectly, that is greater than or equal to 25% of voting share of both of them, यानी अगर उसके पास 25% या उससे ज़्यादा वोटिंग पावर है थर्ड पर्सन के पास, तो वो दोनों लोग एक दूसरे से रिलेटेड हो गए. One person controls directly or indirectly the another person, then also they are considered as a related person. Third person controls directly or indirectly both of them, यानी तीसरा पर्सन दोनों को कंट्रोल करता है, तो वो लोग भी रिलेटेड पर्सन हो गए. सच पर्सन टुगेदर कंट्रोल्स थर्ड पर्सन, दोनों मिलके थर्ड पर्सन को कंट्रोल करते हैं, तो भी वो रिलेटेड पर्सन हो गए. सच पर्सन आर मेंबर्स ऑफ द सेम फैमिली, अगर सेम फैमिली के मेंबर्स हैं तो भी वो रिलेटेड पर्सन हो गए. वन ऑफ देम इज द सोल एजेंट और सोल डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर और सोल कंसाइनर ऑफ अदर, then also they are considered as a related person. For example, Miss Priya holds 30% of say shares of ABC Limited and 35% of XYZ Limited. ABC Limited and XYZ Limited are related person because one person is holding more than 25% of share in two company, that is ABC Limited and XYZ Limited. So that is why now ABC Limited and XYZ Limited both are considered as a related person because someone else is having more than 25% of shares. Now another example, Q Limited has a deciding role in corporate policy, operation management and quality control of R Limited. It can be said that Q Limited controls R Limited, thus Q Limited and R Limited are related because Q has deciding role in corporate policy, operation management and quality control of R Limited. So that is why they are considered as a related person. Section 25, distinct person. Distinct person as per section 25 subsection 4, a person who has obtained or is required to obtain more than one registration, whether in one state or union territory or more than one state or union territory, shall in respect of each such registration be treated as distinct person for the purpose of this act. यानी एक ही स्टेट में उसको दो अलग अलग रजिस्ट्रेशन लिया है या अलग अलग स्टेट में उसने कंपल्सरीली, अलग अलग स्टेट है तो रजिस्ट्रेशन अलग अलग लेना ही पड़ेगा, पर्सन सेम है, तो देन दैट पर्सन इज known as a distinct person as per section 25, and any transaction between this person will be considered as a supply. Let us understand with the help of one example. Atul Siv has a registered head office in Gujarat. He has also obtained registration in Maharashtra irrespective of his newly opened branch office. Atul shall be treated as a distinct person irrespective of registration in Maharashtra and Gujarat. So supply between Gujarat office and Maharashtra office in the course or furtherance of business even without consideration will qualify as a supply. यानी एक ही अतुल ने ही अपने गुजरात की ऑफिस से महाराष्ट्र की ऑफिस को सर्विस प्रोवाइड किया और उसके लिए पैसा चार्ज नहीं किया है, तो देन ऑल्सो इट इज कंसिडर्ड एज अ सप्लाई बिकॉज अतुल ऑफ गुजरात and Atul of Maharashtra will be considered as a distinct person in the eyes of law as per section 25. So any transaction made between these two states of the same person will be considered as a supply. Establishment of a distinct person as per section 25 subsection 5, where a person who has obtained or is required to obtain registration in a state or union territory in respect of an establishment has an establishment in another state or union territory, then such establishment shall be treated as the establishment of a distinct person for the purpose of this act. That means एक ही person का एक ही state में अलग अलग establishment है या तो फिर अलग अलग state में अलग अलग establishment है, though then that person is known as a distinct person as per section 25 subsection 5. Let us understand with the help of example. X Enterprise, a registered supplier, owns AC Restaurant in Maharashtra. It has opened a liquor shop in Uttarakhand for trading a alcoholic liquor for human consumption. And you know, alcoholic liquor for human consumption is a non-taxable items. Since supply of alcoholic liquor for human consumption in Uttarakhand is a non-taxable supply, X enterprise is not required to obtain registration with respect to the same in Uttarakhand. In this case, AC restaurant in Maharashtra and liquor shop in Raipur, though unregistered, shall be treated as the establishment of a distinct person. एक ही पर्सन का एस्टेब्लिशमेंट है बट दे आर ट्रीटेड एज ए एस्टेब्लिशमेंट ऑफ ए डिफरेंट पर्सन, डिस्टिंक्ट पर्सन. Supply by Maharashtra office to Uttarakhand office in the course or furtherance of business even without consideration will qualify as a supply. यानी कुछ भी सप्लाई महाराष्ट्र की रेस्टोरेंट से उत्तराखंड में जाता है फॉर बिजनेस पर्पस without consideration, then also it is considered as a supply. So that is about distinct person. Now we will discuss about principal and agent, supply of principal to agent and agent to supply of goods by principal to agent, where the agent undertakes to supply such goods on behalf of principal, or by an agent to principal, where the agent undertakes to supply such goods on behalf of the principal. Here two things are happening. First one, supply of goods by a principal to his agent without consideration is considered as a supply. यानी यहाँ पे क्या होता है कि एजेंट अंडरटेक्स करता है कि वो सप्लाई करेगा गुड्स को ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ द प्रिंसिपल टू द कस्टमर. और दूसरे में क्या होता है, सिमिलरली सप्लाई ऑफ गुड्स बाय एजेंट टू हिज प्रिंसिपल विदाउट कंसिडरेशन इज कंसिडर एज ए सप्लाई. यानी यहाँ पे एजेंट गुड्स को प्रोक्योर करके प्रिंसिपल को सप्लाई करता है विदाउट कंसिडरेशन, तो देन इट इज कंसिडर एज ए सप्लाई. Let us take one example. A K&M agents or commission agent takes possession of goods from the principal and issue the invoice in his own name. In such cases, the K&M commission agent is an agent of the principal for the supply of goods in terms of para 3 of schedule 1. The disclosure or non-disclosure of the name of the principal is immaterial in such situation. So here it is a supply even if it is made without a consideration. Importation of services. Import of services by any person without consideration from a related person or his establishment located outside India in course or furtherance of business shall be treated as a supply. यानी अपने कोई भी रिलेटेड पर्सन से या कोई अपना एस्टेब्लिशमेंट है जो आउटसाइड इंडिया से कोई भी चीज है ना विदाउट कंसिडरेशन देता है तो देन इंपोर्ट करता है तो देन इट इज कंसिडर्ड एज ए सप्लाई. लेट अस टेक वन एग्जांपल. M Associates receives legal consultancy services from its head office located in Malaysia. Head offices has entered or rendered such services free of cost to its branch office. So any services provided by head office to its branch office without any consideration, then it is considered as a supply. Since M Associates and head office are related person, services received by M Associates will qualify as a supply even though head office has not charged anything from it. Next one, Kamlesh, a proprietor registered in Delhi, has sought architect services from his son in US with respect to his newly constructed house in Delhi. Although services have been received by Kamlesh without consideration from his son, a related person, yet it will not be qualified as a supply since it has not been received in course or furtherance of the business. So it is not a supply. Why? Because he has imported a service. Importation of service is there. It is also without consideration, but it is not related to its business. So that is why, what is the condition? There should be import of services. It should be for the purpose of business, or in the course of the business, then only it is considered as a supply. So whenever there is a consideration involved in case of import of service, then business test is not required. Whether in the course of business or it is not in the course of business, that is not material. If you have paid the consideration, then it is a supply. But if you have imported a service without consideration and it is not for the business, then it is not a supply. So what is important here? It should be import of service, and it must be for the purpose of business only, then only it is considered as a service if it is without consideration. यानी कोई भी चीज बाहर से आप इंपोर्ट करते हो, सर्विस इंपोर्ट करते हो और उसमें कंसिडरेशन इन्वॉल्व नहीं है, तो वो बिजनेस के लिए होना जरूरी है. अगर वो कंसिडरेशन भी इन्वॉल्व नहीं है, बिजनेस के लिए भी नहीं है, तो फिर वो सप्लाई नहीं माना जाएगा और उस पर जीएसटी नहीं लगता. तो दैट इज अबाउट सप्लाई schedule 1, and all the things of schedule 1 is covered here, and schedule 3 is already discussed in my another YouTube video. Thanks for watching my video. Do like and subscribe my YouTube channel.